We spend years learning how to work, how to study, how to compete, how to achieve. But almost nobody teaches us how to rest. Not vacation, not escape, real rest. And maybe that's why so many of us are exhausted, even after a full night's sleep. A trip to Japan made me question something I had believed for years. What if rest isn't a reward? What if it's a skill? When I arrived in Kyoto, I expected to remember the temples, the food, the history. But that's not what stayed with me. What stayed with me were the moments between the destinations. Sitting quietly in a cafe, listening to the rain, walking through a garden with nowhere to be, watching a train disappear into the distance for the first time in a long time. I wasn't trying to optimize anything. I wasn't checking what came next. I wasn't measuring my day by how much I accomplished. I was simply paying attention. And strangely, that felt unfamiliar. That experience stayed with me long after I came home. It made me wonder, why did slowing down feel so unnatural? We're taught how to be productive, how to push through, how to persevere, how to perform. But when do we ever learn how to recover? Especially in schools. We prepare students for exams, we encourage resilience, we celebrate achievement. But how often do we teach them how to recharge, how to notice, how to be present? As I started reading more about rest, I realized something important. Rest is much bigger than sleep. According to both the American Psychological Association and Harvard Health Publishing, we experience different kinds of fatigue. Sometimes our bodies are tired. Sometimes it's our minds. Sometimes we're overwhelmed by constant stimulation. Sometimes we've stopped noticing beauty. Sometimes we're emotionally drained. Sometimes we're surrounded by people and still feel alone. Sleep is essential, but it can't restore every kind of exhaustion. Different forms of fatigue require different forms of rest. That idea changed the way I began thinking about well-being. For most of my life, I thought rest happened after the work was finished. Now I wonder if good work depends on rest happening first, because reflection needs space. Creativity needs space. Learning needs space. Relationships need space. Even our sense of purpose needs space. Perhaps rest isn't something we earn after we've given everything away. Perhaps it's one of the things that allows us to keep giving in the first place. As educators, we spend enormous energy helping students succeed, and we should. But perhaps part of helping them succeed is teaching something we rarely assess: how to recover, how to slow down, how to protect their attention, how to recognize when they're mentally or emotionally exhausted. Maybe rest isn't separate from learning. Maybe it's part of learning. Maybe the ability to pause, reflect, and restore ourselves is one of the most important life skills we can develop. I often tell the teachers I work with, go slow to go far. I used to think that was advice about work. Now I think it's advice about life. Because perhaps the most important curriculum isn't the one that fills our calendars. It's the one that teaches us how to remain fully human while we pursue excellence. Maybe rest isn't something we earn. Maybe it's something we learn.